That will make things a little more accepting here. You all forgive me, just a second here. And I am ready. Okay. Welcome, beloved, to this edition of Hear, O Yah. Is I is or is I ain't? Your brother, Gidon Ben Yasharal. Where's all the children at? Hurry up and get them children. Where's Big Mama? Where's Pawpaw? Go out into the highways and the byways and bring all the kinfolk around the television set. Why? Because we have a special. That's right, we have a special program designed specifically with you in mind. But of course, the views and opinions expressed are those of me, a po-colored country boy, cotton picker, by way of Israel, and the panelists that Yah has set, but not those of Comcast, their management, advertisers, or affiliates. And of course, there is a mature verbiage alert. Because we deal with mature subject matter, sometimes it just makes you want to cuss. Today's program title is, drum roll please. All right, Debtor's Prison. Debtor's Prison. What do I mean by that? I want y'all to call, I want you to fire the lines up, as Derek Bozeman would say. You know, I was looking at this assassination of this beautiful brother, Walter Scott. Flagger, the killer dog police in South Kakalaki, stopped this man, and as it turns out, it was an illegal stop. He stopped him for a broken tail light. Why was it illegal? Because in South Kakalaki, you don't need to have but 2 tail lights. He had 2, one in his rear window and the other one in his tail was working. So he had made an illegal stop. But the story goes on where this killer dog, Flagger, along with many... Huh? Slager. I thought it was an F. Well, he's a Slager killer dog. Became the killer that he was when the brother ended up fleeing from the scene. The question is very vague and obscure as to why he fled. But we know what it is. It is a situation where a killer dog police confronts a brother and the brother's life is instantly at hand and in danger, and he's in fear for his life. But the plea of the police is that all they need to do is think that they're in fear of their life, and they have a right to shoot you down. And we used to say like a dog, but they won't kill dogs like they kill us. They kill us worse than dogs. Woo. But guess what? You support them in doing this, and I'm going to explain to you why. See, the issue that came up after this killer dog, Slager, pulled up brother Walter Scott's background, that he was, count them, 18 stacks. 18 grand behind in what? Child support. It is an issue that is pervasive in the society. It is an issue that is at the very heart of the destruction of our families. Because guess what? Our women are complicit. Not only are they complicit in the sexual act, we're not talking about rapists. We're talking about consensual sex on more than one occasion. But guess what? All it takes is one for that egg to be fertilized in the releasing of the sperm, for 2 adults to conceive a child. And what have the daughters of Zion, the beauty of our people in the flesh, what have they done? Continually and consistently turned over. Just like when we enslaved and they have a runaway slave, what do? They go to master. Master, he running away. And what do? They run to their white master and tell them to go get this brother and many others. What I did was I Googled this question. I didn't get the answer, but I got an answer. How many brothers, black men so-called, are incarcerated for child support as well as domestic violence? I couldn't find the answer, but I'm going to read to you what I did find. The numbers are staggering. Mama and them have been putting us behind jail. Not behind jail. They want to put us under the jail, in the jail, go through. We ain't going through the jail, though. We staying in. It's sticking and staying because the power that they have been given by white supremacy. What I want you to understand is that black women, so-called, vote more than white women. They are the #1 participant in this corrupt, vile system electoral process than any other demographic. It's already been released. Let me show you what I'm talking about. First of all, the title of the show, Debtor's Prison. Let's define debt. According to Black's Law Dictionary, the 5th edition, okay. This is Whitey's Law right here, but in Black's Dictionary. You there? It says this: debt, a sum of money due by certain and express agreement, a specified sum of money owing to one person from another, one person to another, including not only obligation of debtor to pay, but right of creditor to receive and enforce. This is what they want. This is where they got us right here. And enforce payment. But check this out. It goes on to say, a fixed and certain obligation to pay money or some other valuable thing or things, either in the present or in the future. In a still more general sense, that which is due from one person to another, whether money, goods, or services. In a broad sense, any duty to respond to another in money, labor, service. It may even mean a moral or honorary obligation, unenforceable by legal action. Also, sometimes the existing claims against a person or company. Thus, we speak of national debt, the bonded debt of a corporation. Now, many of you may not even know that not only has the law created this new law that makes corporations people. A corporation is a person. But America is what? The #1 debtor nation. See, what goes around comes around. The very legal action that they have placed on us ultimately is going to come back on them. But it's coming from a higher court. It's coming from the court of Yah our Elohim in the name of his anointed son Yahshua, and they going to pay this debt. But they're already paying the debt that they owe England. But what are they paying it through? Us. Their prison industrial complex. The black man that so-called has been freed has never been freed. And our women, unwittingly and wittingly, been co-conspirators in the incarceration, murder, and debauchery of white men against us in this system. Let me show you what I'm talking about back here. What I did when I Googled black men in America, the percentage of black men incarcerated in jail, you know, I want to give big ups to WAOK. It is the voice of the people, the boss, Gene Ross, Rick Caffey, and all of them who now have a talk show lineup that's bar none the best on radio. They started off with Dr. F. Keith Slaughter. I definitely place my order every time he comes. It's the movement. They follow that up with Rashard Richie, with the realest man in talk radio. They follow up with the sellout Al Sharpton. I say sellout because he tells us to vote for white supremacy and then turn around and benefit off of us fighting against these killers that continue to operate in injustice against us. Then they follow that up with your big boy, homeboy, Derek B-Man Bozeman, who is a community activist. But you know, me and Derek go toe to toe, and when I call in, he won't receive my call when he on his thing. You know what I'm talking about? But again, we'll go from there. But they've got, of course, Mary Gill on the weekend, and they got the real man, the Auto Insider, is also on the weekends. You know what I'm talking about? Daryl Killian, and he doing what he do. Now, and let me say this before I read this document to show you, because see, the question I have on the debtor's prison, what is it that you value? What is it let me find out what it is. Oh, what is the reward for you for living in America? What is the reward for you for living in? Because many of you think the reward is watching these women walk around in their drawers and underwear. That's what you do. You say, oh man, in America they got all these fine women. It's a reason why they got the women walking around in their drawers, in their stockings, in their underwear, so that you can get into that trap. They got all the breasts hanging out. They got these tight pants on. And guess what? Now you got Hillary getting ready to come in and follow biblical prophecy. They say it was a woman that was going to be riding the beast. And she getting ready to ride this thing. See, when the teachers that were in the CRTC scandal went to jail, all the brothers came out to fight for them and so forth. You didn't find the womenist group came out, did they? Not one feminist organization. What about the LGBT perverts and deviants? They didn't come out. They marched by the thousands for themselves, but none of them came out for the teachers being incarcerated, did they? It's a reason for all that. Now, the other thing, Dr. F. Keith Slaughter, show you what you get in America, where our daughters are right now. He had an 11-year-old young lady that he was interviewing. This young lady was this girl, she's a little girl, she's 11 years old. Dr. Slaughter is 54 years old, you understand? And this little girl, even albeit she was very articulate, what we get in America with our daughters is arrogance and pride. And they think because they make a little money, and she had an online fashion show that she was doing. So Dr. Slaughter was he's very manable and peaceful. He's a warrior now, but he was dealing with this because her mama was there and a few of her friends. And what this Dr. Slaughter was telling her was a story about when he was young. He said, when I was young, there was this girl bigger than me in my class, and blah, he was talking about when he was in elementary school. This little girl, arrogant little girl, turned around and said, oh, you can't call her B. Wait a minute now. She on his show. He's a grown man. He's 54. She 11. But she had the nerve to tell him, you can't call a woman big. Why? Because your white slave master has indoctrinated these young children with the philosophy of white supremacy and this so-called being politically correct. She gonna interrupt him in telling this story and tell him what he can't say on his own show. He was very diplomatic. He didn't even address that issue. I'm addressing it because I come from the old school. That's what you're getting in America. Arrogant, sexualized females who think that this white man's system is going to protect them from the wrath of God. Now, let me go back to the story that when I Googled the percentage of black men in, I said in Atlanta, but that are incarcerated for child support, and I also wanted to do that for domestic violence. Well, what came up was this story about a white boy. I Googled about black folks and what they got on this, the story that was about a white boy. It was, if you Google MSNBC, the author of this story is Mike Bunker. MSNBC, Mike Bunker. And it is entitled, Unable to Pay Child Support. Poor Parents Land Behind Bars. Let me read this to you. It says this. I said black man, but again, this story is about a white boy. But we know who they really targeting. Black men are being locked away without any regard for their ability to pay. sometimes without the benefit of legal representation. Randy Miller, a 39-year-old Iraq war vet, found himself in that situation in November when a judge in Floyd County, Georgia, sent him to jail for violating a court order to pay child support. See, this is what our brother Walter Scott was running from. He wasn't running from that police because he told him he had a broken light. He owed 18 stacks. Let me continue. He said he was stunned when the judge, of course, this is my opinion. Let me put that out there. He said he was stunned when the judge rebuffed his argument that he had made regular payments for more than a decade before losing his job in July 2009 and had recently resumed working. It didn't matter to the judge. He had already decided to lock him up. That's the same way they do with us. Time we walk in the court chamber, they know they're going to put us in jail. He said he spent 3 months in jail before being released, and this is the caveat. See, Whitey gonna fight against Whitey. This is what he did when he got released, even though he was a poor white boy. He and 6 other plaintiffs have filed a class action lawsuit. What is the lawsuit gonna do? He filed it in March that seeks to force the state of Georgia to provide lawyers for poor non-custodial parents facing the loss of for failing to pay child support. See, this is how Whitey do, because he created this corrupt system, so now he's getting ready to fight that corrupt system. The other aspect of this debtor's prison, which we are in America, is a penal colony. That's what America was set up for from the beginning. Yeah. And it's still that. Okay? Now, what is languishing in jail for weeks and months and sometimes over a year, these black men share one trait besides being in jail: poverty. They went to jail without ever talking to an attorney. In essence, you're told that you're innocent until proven guilty. For us and for people with child support, you're guilty until you pay that money. Now, it says, and only with the consent of one person, that's the female who went to bed consensually with you to conceive that baby, so they could put you in jail if you didn't pay that ransom. That's what it is. It says, according to the law filed by the nonprofit Southern Center for Human Rights in Atlanta, you all need to get with this. It's the Southern Center of Human Rights in Atlanta has filed a lawsuit for the benefit of poor people. Walter Scott owed $18,000. Now, the story of why he ran has not been told, and the story of black men jailed for sharing their love through sex has not been told, and the cost to black men in America. Well, we're going to talk about this thing today. You know what I'm talking about? And I want you to talk about it. 770-559-2999. Now, the issue has to do with this. Hillary Clinton, and if you Google the Clinton clan, they built more prisons under their administration than they ever built. And y'all love that white boy. And because he was playing a saxophone. Right. See, the lie that they tell us is that they are for us. But the truth is they killing us, they putting us in jail, mama and them is okaying it, and then they go to the political pundits and vote for you to go to jail. And you still down with it. The ones that's up under their mama's dress tail and don't have anything other to gird them up like the word of truth. And people in media that will tell you the truth. Well, I'm not sold and bought by media. I'm bought by the Most High in the blood of Yahshua the Lamb after the days of unleavened bread. And in time, I may receive the same result that the Messiah did, because they killing off everybody that's dealing with the truth. Now, let me read this to you in Proverbs chapter 5 before we get to this powerful panel right here. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, I'm back. We fired up. It's going down. It's on and popping. That's right. Hero Yah. In Proverbs chapter 5, it speaks on this wise. My son, attend to my wisdom, and bow down thine ear to my understanding, that you may regard discretion, and that your lips may keep knowledge. For the lips of a strange woman drop as a honeycomb. When you first meet her, boy, she's sweet as honey, ain't she? Yes, sir. That thing is popping, ain't it?
Yes,
that
sir.
snapper,
Yes,
right?
Sir. Yes,
yeah,
sir.
yeah. And her mouth is smoother than oil. But when her end is bitter as wormwood, sharp as a two-edged sword, her feet go down to the depth of hell to take on, wait a minute, let me read that again. Her feet go down to death. Her steps take hold on hell. Lest you should ponder the path of life. Her ways are movable, that you cannot know them. Hear me now, therefore, O you children, and depart not from the words of her mouth. Remove your way far from her, and come nigh to the door of her house, lest you give your honor to others, and your years to the cruel. Lest strangers be filled with your wealth, and your labor be in the house of a stranger. See, there are dual prophecies here because there's spiritual connotation and natural. The spiritual side is talking about the apostate Christian church and the strange woman that respects the authority of idols and idolatry, which many of you just participated in with practicing Easter or Ostra, the spring equinox. But the natural connotation is the woman who's out there dressed like a hoe, walking like a hoe, talking like a hoe. Guess what? It must be a hoe. And many of you fathers are allowing your daughters to dress like that, to trap young men who are not looking from the spirit, not looking from that third eye, but from the natural. Hey, I'm weak. I'm a man. When I see a beautiful, fleshly, well-proportioned woman, I'm susceptible too. But at the end of the day, if somebody don't warn you what's really going on, see, a treasure is something that's hidden. It is something that you can't go out and see all the cracks and crevices in her behind and her panty line because she want to wear everything tight. It is the beauty of her spirit, the dedication of her loyalty to her creator, and her ability to be trusted. Not when she lay down with you, go to the killer and have you go and be incarcerated or killed. So I guess the mother of Walter Scott gonna have to get her money off the gravestone. Now, to this powerful panel red chair. To my right, you know who he is. Author, entertainer. I say author, he's the author of his own individual works. He is an actor. He is a researcher. You know who he is. Vincent Cheeks.
Peace, 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 peace and
And
blessings.
to his right, he's back. Lord have mercy. We ain't seen him in a minute, but he's a staple on this show for over a decade or thereabouts. Somewhere, I don't want to put no number on it, but for a long time. It is Prince Zebekiah. Brother, I am honored to be in your presence. The Most High had brought you at a most esteemed time. You know, we just had the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan to come on deck right at ITC. He carries a powerful weight in the city. However, we'll leave it right there. Now, let me start with this young brother right here, because I want you to be, you heard me, I want you to hear this brother's perspective, and then I want you to cap it all off with your perspective. Again, 770-559-2999. This thing is on and popping. Now, Vince, you've heard the lamentations of the people. What say you about Walter Scott and this issue of child support?
Man, you touched on a lot of good points, my brother. The issue of Walter Scott, man, I was just looking at an article which stated that 1/8 of South Carolina inmates are in jail over child support right now. And as you said, brother, Walter Scott was one of them, owing $18,000. He had previously gone to jail in 2008 for 6 months I guess that's when he initially fell behind $6,800. So they put the man in jail for 6 months for $6,800. He gets out. I think he said he went back once or twice in 2011 and 2012. Not for as long, but he did go back for child support to jail. So, of course, when he gets pulled over last week, and the cop is running his name, you know, of course, going through his head is, man, all right, he already knew he had a warrant out for child support, and he was like, man, I'm not about to go sit back in this box.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because, like you said, the white man has created this system to keep black men mainly in this debtor's prison system that you talked about. And so, of course, instead of going back to jail for child support, he ran. That was his first instinct. He ran. And so not only did he end up dying in the end of this confrontation between him and Mr. Slager, if you will, the killer, the murderer, Officer Slager, like you said, pulled him over illegally.
Exactly.
He said his third brake light was out.
Right.
I don't even know what that is, but in the state of South Carolina, you only need 1 or 2 tail lights. So, and he was in compliance with that. So, I was watching CNN the other day, and they were talking about how black men get pulled over all the time for trivial, minute, or even non-existent, in this case, traffic stops.
Right.
And it's essentially a way of profiling and harassing black men. And so again, everything goes back